The Grand Emporium was a high-end luxury boutique where the floors were polished white marble and the air smelled of imported lavender and expensive leather. It was a place designed for the elite, and Quentin, the store manager, saw himself as the gatekeeper of that elitism. He stood behind the main counter in a bold red blazer, his posture rigid and his eyes scanning the floor for anyone he deemed unworthy of the space. Beside him was Silas, the floor supervisor, wearing a bold red trim vest. To them, customer service was only for those who looked like they carried a platinum card. Martha, an elderly black woman, walked slowly through the aisles. She was a woman of immense grace, dressed in a high-quality deep navy silk wrap and wearing a gold chain necklace with a heavy locket. She was a retired judge, though she didn't feel the need to broadcast her status. She was simply looking for a set of Egyptian cotton linens as a housewarming gift for her son. Quentin's eyes locked onto Martha as she touched a display of fine silk scarves. His face underwent a terrifying transformation, a realistic, unmasked display of aggressive rage. Pulsing veins began to throb in his neck, and his nostrils flared with a look of pure loathing. He didn't see a customer. He saw an intruder. "Those scarves cost more than your monthly pension, lady." Quentin roared, his voice booming through the silent store. "Hands off the merchandise." "I am a customer, and I intend to purchase these," Martha replied, her voice remaining a calm, professional royal blue tone. She stepped back defensively as Quentin stormed out from behind the counter, invading her personal space until he was towering over her. "You're a loiterer," Quentin hissed, his eyes widening in a terrifying display of anger. He reached out with a violent, sudden motion and grabbed the sleeve of Martha's deep navy silk wrap, jerking her toward the exit. The force of the pull caused her gold necklace to swing violently. When Martha tried to pull her arm back, Quentin lost all control. He lunged forward and delivered a sharp, resounding slap across Martha's face. The sound was like a whip cracking in the silent store. He then grabbed her by the collar of her deep navy wrap and physically shoved her against a white marble pillar. "I told you to get out." Quentin snarled, his face contorted with anatomical micro-expressions of fury. His brow furrowed into deep ridges and his skin turning an uneven, mottled red. He snatched the yellow silk scarf from her hand and threw it onto the floor, grinding his heel into it. The witnesses, Penelope in a white dress and Marius in a yellow shirt, stood in the next aisle, frozen in shock. They immediately raised their phones, capturing the raw, unmasked fury on Quentin's face as he physically manhandled the elderly woman. "My son! He's coming for me!" Martha whispered, her hand pressed to her reddened cheek. Quentin let out a jagged laugh and delivered one final, aggressive shove to her shoulder, sending her stumbling toward the glass doors. "Let him come. I'll have him arrested for trespassing, too." Inside the boutique, the air was stagnant, frozen by the shock of what had just occurred. Quentin stood at the center of the marble floor, adjusting the cuffs of his bold red blazer with a trembling, adrenaline-fueled arrogance. He looked down at the yellow silk scarf he had ground into the floor, a smirk playing on his lips. Silas, smoothing out his bold red trim vest, leaned against the counter. "That's how you set the tone, Silas," Quentin boasted, his voice loud enough for the trembling staff to hear. "You let one person think they can loiter, and the whole brand loses its value. She's lucky I didn't call the precinct." The store's automatic door slid open with a sharp, pneumatic hiss. Tobias walked in. He was a man of immense physical presence, dressed in a custom-tailored royal blue three-piece suit that radiated power. On his wrist, a gold luxury watch caught the light of the chandeliers. He didn't look like a man arriving for a shopping trip. He looked like a man arriving for a war. He saw his mother, Martha, standing near the entrance, her hand still pressed to the reddened skin of her cheek where the slap had landed. The deep navy silk wrap he had gifted her for her birthday was wrinkled from Quentin's grip. The atmosphere in the store shifted instantly. Every digital display behind the counter, screens that usually showed high-fashion loops, suddenly flickered to a solid royal blue. Then the video began to play. It was a bold, extreme close-up of Quentin's face, veins pulsing in his neck and nostrils flared, as he violently slapped Martha and shoved her against a pillar. The audio of the impact and Quentin's snarls filled the room at maximum volume. Quentin's face turned a sickly, uneven shade of gray. the anatomical microexpressions of rage replaced by those of pure, unmasked terror. Mr. Tobias? The chairman? I didn't realize she was family. She was touching the silks without. "You touched my mother," Tobias said, his voice a low, lethal vibration of royal blue authority that seemed to rattle the glassware on the shelves. "And you did it in the store that I personally financed." The store was now swarming with people. Penelope and Marius moved closer, their phones live-streaming the confrontation to the corporate headquarters and the local news. The legal team, dressed in deep navy, surrounded the counter with tablets already displaying determination and asset seizure orders. "Quentin Vance," Tobias announced, his eyes cold as he stepped into Quentin's personal space. "As the majority shareholder of the Grand Emporium, I am liquidating your career. Your stock options are forfeited to pay the justice debt for this assault. You are not only fired, you are being wiped from this industry's history." Quentin, in a state of aggressive panic, tried to lunge toward the back office to hide. He was instantly met by two massive security officers in deep Navy uniforms. They firmly grabbed Quentin by his arms, twisting him behind his back in a firm, painful lock. They forced him to his knees on the hard marble floor. Silas tried to retreat, but he was grabbed by his bold red vest and forced down beside his manager. "Dragged him out," Tobias commanded, his hand resting on his mother's shoulder. The security team physically dragged Quentin and Silas through the main aisle. Their feet kicked against the displays as a crowd of shoppers and staff cheered. They were dragged through the glass doors and tossed onto the hot sidewalk in front of the lunch hour crowd. Their personal belongings, including Quentin's bold red spare blazers, were thrown into a green trash bin on the curb. Tobias picked up the yellow silk scarf from the floor, dusted it off, and handed it to a junior staff member. "Get a fresh one for my mother. And tell the board that the North Wing needs a new manager by sunset." He turned to Martha, his expression softening from the steel of the chairman to the love of the son. "The debt is paid, Mom. Let's get you out of this place." The justice debt was collected, the power was destroyed, and the villain was liquidated in the eyes of the public.